Hi folks, Adrian here from Wargaming for Fun. I went to a competitive tournament at the local club Now, what I've done essentially is taken photos in the style of Mordy and Glory and Andy 2D6. However, please do not expect, I should say, the quality that they provide, because this is the first time I've done it. I'm going to be umming and ahhing all the way through. I might even say the wrong words at times. This is my best first stab in the dark at it, folks. If you like it, great. If you can give me feedback on it, great. And I will continue to do them because I enjoy other people doing them. And, you know, there's not much old world content compared to other gaming systems. To the point where if you want to watch old world content, you can finish it. You can keep up with the old world content that's released. Please don't be put off by the thing that it's a competitive day. I'm not what I would consider a competitive player. That said, I appreciate that I do have Cathay, but anybody who knows me knows that I would be playing Cathay if they were dog shit. They are not dog shit. They are very much not dog shit. I have taken a list without a balloon or balloons, which I will go through in a bit. This is just the intro that I'm recording at the end of the recording session, if you like. Okay, so what I'll do, the format of this, I'll talk you through my army, then an overview of each battle and how it went. Hopefully you'll get a clear picture, and hopefully you'll be encouraged to take part. Okay, so this is the armour I took on the day. You can see it's a fairly symmetrical army. I like my army symmetrical. So if I talk you through the army, my symmetrical army, you can see that the general was a Shigengan lord who was called Genghis Khan, equipped with the usual stuff, level 3 wizard, Law of Yang. It is the general riding a Spirit Longma, or the Great Spirit Longma, and the upgrade I've given it is the wonderful weapon, the Monkey King's Wisdom. Also an illusion, but I haven't given Lawmaster or anything like that. I couldn't give Lawmaster if you wanted to, because the Monkey King's Wisdom is 75 points. The profile of the weapon is essentially, I think it's strength 10, AP 4, D3 wounds, but it is strikes last. Okay, and obviously combining that with illusion, I'm hoping to hit the number 5 spell as we go through. I didn't take the Vermilion scrolls, which give you re-rolls, and I didn't make an extra level 4 wizard and give him the 2 upgrades, which wouldn't let him know all 6 spells, because, you know, it's I would rather take the risk. I know it's not effective. I know that some people wouldn't like to take the risk. They'd rather take a different law, but I quite like the Law of Illusion. And usually if you're doing 3 spells, Glittering Robes as number 1, as the signature spell rather, is useful. So you'd have to hit 2 bad spells, and really the only spell I don't like is the number 2 spell, the one where you can move characters and give them flight. So any of the other spells I can work with. So if I hit the number 5 spell, which is Spectral Doppelganger, then great. If I don't, the weapon is tasty enough on its own. Okay. Similarly equipped is another Shigengan lord. This one is called Ponytail, or Ponytail. I apologise. That joke should be aimed at a level that make you groan rather than laugh, and I feel that the names of these, being Genghis Khan and Ponytail, it's on the money. Ponytail, she has got same stats throughout, level 3 wizard, same Law of Yang, but rather than the Monkey King's Wisdom, I've given them the Sword of Reason. Sword of Reason, it's like a great weapon in that it's +2 strength and -2 AP, but it doesn't strike last. It also has Killing Blow on a 5 or a 6, so very, very effective. Again, level 3 wizard in illusion. I'm hoping to hit the 5, but if I don't, okay, the weapons, these 2 mini dragons essentially, which the great spirits feel like and look like, they can hit like a train without hitting the number 5 spell. And if you don't hit the number 5 spell on both, you're unlucky. You're unlucky. I mean, if you're rolling 3 dice and it's 1 to 6, it's a 50% chance you're going to hit it. for both of them to miss, it's a 25% chance for them both to miss. So hopefully one of these two in 3 games out of 4 will hit the number 5 spell. Okay. So that is the 2. The red cloak, Genghis Khan. If I just go back, this fellow is the general. Okay. So I then have 2 units of lancers. Now I run, although they are heavy cav, I run them effectively like light cav. And it's heavy armor, shield and barding, so they're on a 3-up save. They are strength and toughness 3. Although they are called lancers, they don't have lances. They have cavalry spears, so they do get to fight at a 2nd rank. But usually when I've tried to fight them, they bounce off wherever they hit. It's only AP 1 on the charge with armor bane, and 5 people hitting don't do a lot. So I've run these as essentially light cav. They don't have the maneuverability, but I don't view it as their job to fight. It's their job to move into position, and then the leader of this unit that can carry a 50-point magic item carries the Ring of Jet. And there is 2 Ring of Jets. Now, some of you will to vomit into a little bucket if you've heard me say that I'm taking more than 1 of the Ring of Jets. Please judge me at the end of the list rather than now. So essentially, I've got 2 units. There's this one and the other one on each flank. I tend to run them, and they are the Ring of Jet carriers. That's what they do. So one of them is called Sauron's Delivery Service, and the other is the Fellowship. And essentially, they will stay 15 inches away from the enemy when they can. They will try and get off the Ring of Jet, which casts equivalent to a level 3 or 4 wizard, because you're getting +2 to cast. And if it goes off, it's 3d6 strength 2 hits with no armor save, which can be very powerful against knights, elves, and things like that, because they are, unless they have a ward save or a regen, they are dying on a 5 or a 6 from their 3d6. So on average, and we do talk in averages, yeah, I know the dice spike and it never works out as average, but on average, 3d6, you're going to roll 10. So on 10, I'm going to roll hopefully a couple of 5s and a couple of 6s, which should kill 4 knights, which are very tough to get through, especially Empire knights, if they're armor. Because even with -2, they're often saving on a 4-up. So it's less feasible against dragons, obviously, and higher toughness things, because you're hitting on 6s, so the chances are you're going to get 2 or 3. But it is very powerful. But I do take 2 in the army. I don't take a captain. I use the model for a captain because that's how I've built and painted them. But essentially, the banner bearer is the ring bearer in this unit. And I put a musician in because these guys are going to flee if they get charged. And the musician gives them +1 to reform. I tend to, as well, if I'm sailing close to 500 points, give them drilled and ambushes. Because if I'm up against a high shooting army, these guys don't start on the table because they are, target number 1. It's tricky to hide lots of units from shooting. I can hide the heroes, that the monsters can take a cannon, which I'll go through later, but these essentially need to be hidden. Okay, so that's the 2 lancers. The remaining unit making up the core is a unit of 16 Jade Warriors, and they have the banner that turns the wind off, basically turns flight off for my enemy. Now, that said, I announced it to my opponent in every game, and I forgot to use it in every battle. So you get wrapped up in the battle, you forget it. They're shown here as 3 ranks of 5, 3 rows of 5 rather, 3 ranks of 5. On the day, I tend to run them as 4 ranks of 4. Because they are heavy infantry, they get a rank bonus. If they are 4 wide, they don't have to be 5 wide. So a block of 16 gives me 4 ranks of 4, and it's their job not to die. They basically stand on a point and hopefully don't die. They'll take it, and they will take a beating. With their parry save, they save on a 3-up, and they do reroll 1s as their ability, so they are quite chunky. I do usually give them stubborn for 2 points a model, which means that they're not going to flee, or if they do, flee, they can choose to fall back in good order once instead of taking a leadership test. So if they do take an absolute pasting, but I don't want them to flee off the board, fall back in good order, they're only moving 1 dice, and then they're auto rallying at the end. So that's what they're there. I do give the Jade officer in here a charm shield as well, just to make him a bit more survivable and reduce the overkill should he ever need to challenge a dragon or anything like that. But usually I forget he's got it. And usually if you're fighting a dragon or something of consequence, you know, it doesn't come into it. This fella's going to die. And it's his job to die and minimise the wounds on the unit. So the unit will be around longer. Okay. The next unit, I've got 2 cannons, both of them with the ogre loader, but not with the gunpowder bombs. So if they are charged, they do not get to stand and shoot, but the ogre keeps them alive longer. And if ever possible, the ogre will always issue a challenge if they're being charged by a monster. Because I will put these towards the back. If they're charged, the ogre does exactly the same as the champion in the Lancers, and he will take that beating and keep the unit there. Now, it's unsure how you play, because when you put the ogre loader into the unit, he gives the unit stubborn. He usually dies in a challenge, so it's open to debate as to whether the unit keeps stubborn or not. At the club, I tend to play that he doesn't. If he's dead, the unit loses stubborn, but I might be wrong in that. It's not a hill I would be prepared to die on, defending that. But usually, if I'm unsure which way to go, I will go the way that's worst, because, you know, you feel enough of a rat bag taking Jade as it is, taking the Cathay as it is. You don't want to be that guy who's insisting on rules that are undecided. So I view him as an upgrade, which gives the units 3 more wounds. If he dies, usually they're at -3, and I'm hoping that they will fall back in good order, which they often do, because, you know, it's leadership 6 or 7. I think it might be 7. So average, you'll roll between a 7 and how many wounds you've lost and fall back in good order. So it's not that the cannon gets to shoot again, but what it does is it ties up whatever's fighting it for another turn. Makes them a bit more survivable. And they are expensive. You know, I'll just go back to them. So it's relevant. They're close on 170 points. They're 165 points with the ogre loader upgrade. With the ogre upgrade, they are 165 points. When you compare an Empire cannon, 120 points. I don't think they're unfairly pointed. I think that the fact that they can shoot twice is the thing that people object to, because it does give you an advantage in the first turn. It may be fairer if the ogre loader just gave you a re-roll of an arty dice. Because they cost roughly half the cost of an Empire engineer, they shouldn't be as good as an Empire engineer. So I think adding 3 wounds to the war machine, stubborn, and giving you a re-roll of an arty dice during the game, yeah, that's fine. I think the shooting twice is the bit that I would raise an eyebrow at. And I do understand people's frustration, because, you know, if you get 4 cannonballs off in the first round, it can be a bad experience. They could, in theory, take out a couple of dragons in one turn before the other person gets to go. And at that point, 165 each doesn't seem expensive. You know, 320 points of shooting to take out probably close to 1,000 points of dragon. I get the frustration. At the same time, Quake is good. I don't believe it stacks. I don't think it was ever meant to stack, but I like the idea that everything around it, including your units, has a bit of a knee trembler where the ground shakes underneath them. But I do like it. I like the fluff. So I don't think it's a pointing. I think it's a shoot twice issue that they have. And then finally, yes, and I am saying finally, there's no balloons in this list. I've got 2 of the Jade version, the Jade Sentinels, the Jade version of the Terracotta Giant. So they are similar to a giant, a normal giant in toughness 6, strength 6. They have 5 up heavy armor equivalent, which is a bit weird because they are made of stone. And they also have they can take a magic spell, and I usually give them, I've tried different versions, but the 5-up ward Oaken Shields is the one that I seem to have settled on, because, you know, it casts on a 7. They can only cast it on themselves, so they can cast it if they are in combat. In the other person, you know, in your turn, should the combat continue, and it gives them a 5-up ward. So in order to get a 7, it's a bound item. you're adding +3, you need to roll a 4 on the dice. So it's not a done deal, but it's fairly reliable. It's fairly reliable. But if the ward's not off, then they are quite easy to kill. I find them quite easy to kill. They will die to Bretonnian Knights charging them. Pegasus Knights certainly have taken these down many times in one turn, because, you know, Pegasus Knights on the charge, strength 6, wounded on 4s, and there's no armor save then. So if the ward's up, they wound it 6 times, it's dead. It's dead. Has other things like other behemoths, like timber and stuff like that. So they are good to use. They're fun to use. People like them more than the balloons because, you know, you can get hold of one of these. It's got a big base, so you'd be unlucky to miss it with a rock lobber and stuff like that. So they are a lot more interactive. Your opponent does get time to fight back. They can be shot. They are good fun. So we've got this one here, which was named Barney Rubble, which looks better on paper than... yeah, if I say Barney Rubble, you just think I've named it Barney Rubble. I thought I'd been quite clever, but it's the sign of someone who's not clever when they think they're being clever. And then, of course, next to Barney Rubble, we have Fred Flintstone, who is exactly the same. So, yeah, no balloons. Everything can fight, and the 2 mini dragons. So, yeah, no balloons. Pretty much 2 of everything except the unit of infantrymen, 3 units of core, 2 units of special, and 2 rare choices. The hero choices in total come to around about 700 points. I think let's find the stats. So Genghis Khan is 329, Ponytail is 319. So together they make up 650-ish points, 660 points. And they are good because of the flight and all the other stuff they have. As I don't know, the things they rise, the mini lizards or the mini dragons, as I've referred to them in the past, and they have impact hits, D3 impact hits. Might be D3+1 impact hits. I know when I'm playing, but then after the next day I'm thinking, is it D3 or D3+1? They have D3 impact hits. I'm going to say D3+1. D3+1. They have impact hits, not stomp attacks. And if you're unsure, you shouldn't be asking an amateur like me what his own army does. How can you expect me to know what my own army does? So the giants, I don't know if I mentioned, they get D3+1 stomps as well. Other things of note, I like them. I just like the look. I like the look of the whole Jade army. I think they've done a good job. The Cathay models look amazing. They look absolutely amazing. There was another Cathay player there on the day, and we had a conversation about how we glue these giants together with our own tiers. They are not an easy model to put together, unnecessarily overcomplicated, but they do look amazing, and they are really easy to paint. You just choose your colour and then dry brush the shit out of it, and that's what you get. That's what you get. I think the yellow I've used for the jewellery, the stones on it, is just Imperial contrast. It's all contrast, basically, and dry brush. Rubbish. Okay, so let's get to the games. Talk you through the game. So round 1. So round 1 of the 3-round day, or the RTT, was upon the Fields of Glory. The information we've got here is taken from the website. So essentially, once a battlefield has been set up, the winner of a roll-off chooses their deployment zone A or B, blah, blah, blah. The tables are fairly symmetrical, and you'll see those as we go through. So deployment zones are 12 inches from the centre line. The game length is 6 rounds. There's no special rules. The secondary objectives is domination. Basically, the person with the most in each corner will get so many points, and it varies depending on whether you control it, whether you contest it, or whether you dominate it, as in uncontested. All of it's explained in the match play guide, and if you do a quick search online, you'll see it for the exact points. And we also, and we took this from, I think it's the WTC pack, this calming of the winds is a secret objective. And we basically said, right, in the first round, rather than have all the points at the end, if you stop a spell going off with your fated dispel, you get 50 points. And if you do it 6 times in a game, that's an extra 300 points. You'll get 50 points for each turn. So that's the setup of the first round. Okay, so my first game of the day, round one, was against a guy called Jacob Brand. They travelled in from North Wales. They said they're about an hour away. I think it's Mould is the place where their club is. And he had bought, I must say, a spectacularly painted Wood Elf army. Now, I've took photos of the characters, and you may see some close-ups as we go through the game, but really, really nice models. This is Orion. Now, he was playing Orion, or the model as Orion, on the correct size base as a Glade Lord. He basically explained that Orion, the way he's pointed at the moment, is pretty much unplayable. And the Glade Lord is armed with a shield, an annoyance of netlins, aspect of the bear. He's riding a great stag, and he has the Spear of Twilight as well as the Talisman of Protection. Talisman of Protection is almost, compulsory in every game, I believe, as it should be, as the Ruby Ring of Ruin used to be, from memory. So that's his general. Now, this was another Glade Lord, this time with a grade weapon, talismanic tattoos. I think that's how it's pronounced, talismanic. It's not talismaniac. That'd be something else. That's almost like a monster drink, isn't it? Talismanic tattoos. Also with a shield, resplendence of luminescence, a befuddlement of mischiefs, aspect of the bear again, riding a great stag, mantle of rebirth. This guy with a crown of antlers. The stag beetle is certainly carrying a healthy set of antlers there. And then finally, we've got the Spellslinger, last of the heroes, who had a Glamour Weave Kindred. Warhawk, it's a level 1 wizard of high magic and an oaken stave. I don't know if the pictures I've taken do them justice. All the pictures I've taken today are on my phone, and the phone is okay at taking photos. I am zooming in at times. Here I'm not zooming in, but hopefully it will work. Okay. So after we'd deployed, this is how the table laid out. I say after we deployed, this is at the end of deployment. Jacob's just getting ready to deploy his scouts from memory. So if I forward till we get the pictures, there we go. Not so good a picture, but you can still see the table. Essentially, I've got my symmetrical army set up nice and symmetrical. So I've got lancers on the left and the right-hand side. I've got my general, Genghis Khan, next to a grand Cathay cannon. Then I've got one of the Jade Sentinels, the unit of 16, and you can see them here arranged in a 4x4 grid. And then on the right-hand side, it's pretty much a mirror image of the left. Jade Sentinel. Then I've got another cannon and then another unit of Jade Lancers. And behind the front row, I've got Ponytail. So you can see, and the reason Ponytail, as well as a play on words, it is the one with the ponytail. Now, Jacob, his army, I say it's fairly symmetrical. He also has some duplication in his army. And you can see on the right and the left-hand side, he's got his scouts, essentially Deepwood scouts. They've got true flight arrows and a musician, and the 7 each unit. They have a reactive move, essentially, which I wasn't aware of and will become evident after a bit. Then you can see here, there's a unit of 8 Glade Riders. They're armed with arcane bodkins. They have reserve move, the Glade Knight upgrade, standard bearer, magic standard, banner of Springtide. They have. Then we've got 3 units of Wild Riders. 2 of them have the banner bearer. I'm not sure which. Well, I can't remember which one took which banner, basically. Which is which? I can't remember which is which. From memory, I think it was the unit behind the woods. The 2 units behind the woods that had the banners, and the one behind the building didn't, but I might be wrong on that. This is the first time I've played into or with Wood Elves. Didn't know a lot of what they did, which will become evident as we go through the battle report. And then in front, we've got a unit or 2 dogs with a beast keeper, I think they're called, one on each side. And most of the characters are behind this wood here. There might be one behind the building where we can't see. Jacob then did, I can't remember if it was Vanguard movement or Scouts, but yeah, I think from where I didn't take a photo, but essentially these guys moved up so they're within range of the Lancer. And in my turn, I got all excited as normal, forgot to do my enchantments and hexes, moved the Lancers up so they could have a pop. The archers with the ring. I didn't realise at this point that they had a reserve move, and basically when you declare your shot or declare that you're going to cast the spell, Jacob then fled with them the other side of the hill so it couldn't be seen. Although this guy is touching the hill, and the guy with the banner is the guy with the ring, and he couldn't see over the hill. You can see both Shigengan lords have moved up. That's all they've done. And then it's on for a few cheeky shots with the cannons. Now, I did say at the beginning of the game that if he had a unit behind a wood that I couldn't see, then I wouldn't shoot. I know strictly by the rules of the game, you can target the ground in the wood and shoot through. So I could hit these, but it just doesn't feel right. So I told him that I wouldn't be doing it in the game. But, you know, if I can see them, then it's fair game. I will shoot them. This, you might wonder why the terrain is not slightly symmetrical. This is because this is the wood that Jacob, the wood elves, bring with them. So he put that there, which gives him a nice screen. So I've essentially that's where I've moved up. There's not a lot happens. Like I say, I forgot the enhancement. So these two guys don't have ward saves on them. These two don't have glittering robes, and there's no magic shooting because of that. I think I take a shot with the cannon. Yeah, I did take a shot with the cannon at the Orion model, who's the Glade Lord. It didn't hit the Glade Lord, but it killed a dog. You'll see the cannons are very good at killing dogs in this battle report. But so they took a dog out. This unit passed its leadership test, which I think he tested on an 8 from memory. Excellent leadership for the leader of the pack. And they stayed put. They stayed put, as did these dogs here. They wouldn't flee. But yeah, these dogs stayed put. And then, yeah, they had hidden behind there. Just a few photos, action shots, close up so you can see the battle closer up. Okay, so into Jacob's first turn, he's moved the archers back onto the hill. He's moved these archers onto the hill again, or around the side of the hill, and he's moved the Glade Riders on top of the hill. Again, from memory, all of these archers shot at these lancers, and these shot at these lancers. And from memory, I think there was one left. The ring bearer was left on this side, and he passed his leadership test because the general's right there, so he was tested on a 9. I think these may have lost a couple of wounds as well. Okay, and then because these have reserve move after they'd shot, they then popped back behind the hill. Other than that, everything else stayed back. And that's where I started to get concerned, because get concerned, I should say, because if you remember, this is settled on domination. So Jacob's in an excellent position here with his scouts and his move and his reserve moves to contest my 2 corners to reduce the points I score and to dominate his. So at this point, I'm thinking, yeah, he's just taken out 4 lancers with this shooting. He's taken out another couple of lancers here from memory. So I need to get a move on. I can't sit back and wait, even though I'm the guy with the cannons. I can't sit back and wait to see how it develops. I need to go after him. So into turn 2. There we go. So into turn 2, you can see that's what I've done. One guy on the right I lost on 2. The Jade Lancers have moved onto the hill, a couple of inches away from these guys, and I've angled them so that whichever way he moves, he can't move them out of my line of sight, basically, with a reactive move. Okay, and both the Shigengan General and Shigengan Lord, who is my general, and my remaining Lancer, the one with the ring bearer, has moved onto the hill, so they've got a choice of targets. These have the reactive move. I don't think these do. Again, I didn't know this at this point because I'm getting to know the opponent, and even if he had have told me, which he may have done, I wouldn't have taken it in. You can see, first game of the day, I'm still trying to think what I'm doing myself rather than trying to worry about what my opponent's doing too much. Yeah, if you're here for advice, you're in the wrong place. If you're here to listen to an old man tell you about a good day of Warhammer, you're in the right place. This is the state of play at the end of the second movement phase. So what's happened up to here is I've rolled on the Winds of Magic, and I've got +1 movement. Then I've marched my one of my Jade guys who does have a ward save up now. He marches 14. This guy's a bit slower, and he marches as far as he can, but the Shigengan Lord, who's not the general, Ponytail, she's moved up, and she's basically got an angle so that if these guys do a reactive move, or if these come and charge the Lancers, she can countercharge. That's the plan with her, but by doing that, she has blocked or limited the movement of the giant, the Sentinel rather. The infantry in the middle has marched up as far as they can. Although it looks like they're in marching column, they're not. I think for marching column, you have to be longer than you are wide, and they're not. They are exactly the same. They're in square formation. They're not. So they can't march at 3 times the speed. This cannon, from memory, misfired, but it misfired with the result that it can't shoot for this turn and next turn. So that it will be shooting in turn 4. We changed that 3 to a 4 later to help remind me. And I think, yeah, it lost a wound, so one of the crew members has disappeared. This cannon took a cheeky shot, again, at the Orion model, the opponent's general, and killed another dog. So the RSPCA will be getting a call from the Cathay cannons for killing dogs. Now, at the same time, when the cannonballs land, they cause the quake, and most of this loses its swift stride. Okay, so what I'm doing here is trying to set myself up, and then okay, so yeah, I from memory, we do some damage when I shoot into these on the left-hand side, because it became apparent that these guys don't have a reserve move. That's where the Jade Ring went into. And then I think I tried to get the burning spell off as well. Spell number 1, but it either didn't go off or it didn't do much damage. These killed some. Let's have a look. Yeah, so basically, these, by moving onto the hill, the ones on the right-hand side, they moved onto the hill and shot the stag cavalry here. What are the stag cavalry called? Sisters of Thorn? Because they have a magic shooting attack. They were my target priority over these guys. So they moved onto the hill, took a blast, and took all but 1 out. It did go off in spectacular fashion on that side. And I think on this side, if we zoom in, there was 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like I've killed 2 on that side with a combination of their shooting. So this Jade Land hasn't done much, and is not long for this world. These have done all right. What Jacob does, his general here and the remaining handler charge my general, who declares a counter charge. These guys don't charge, their strength is in shooting, so they surround the Lancer ready to shoot. And these guys are frenzied, and they have to declare a charge. And I think they do. And I declare a flee, because I look at this distance and think, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And I don't want to go too far, because I don't want to be, because if I go too far, these guys don't auto-rally, remember. If I flee too far, then I could well be off the table. These trees are only here because my giants just walked out the trees, and I haven't put the trees back on the pad. They're only there because they're out the way of the models. So there's the result of the charge on the general. You can see that his general has charged into mine. So we've got a general off there. And I don't know if you're seeing, but the little guy is in there as well. The handler for the dogs. He's really brassed off. And so if I go back a couple of photos, you can see here, these are charging my Lancers. I decide not to use Swift Stride because I don't want them to take too long coming back because I've only got movement 7 normally. And I roll 3. And he needs quite a high number. It's like 17 to catch them. But they're elves with Swift Stride. Of course, they catch them. They catch them pretty much where these guys are. And then they reform to face my army. And that's what this photo is demonstrating. So Lancers being run down, which some of you will be happy about. Anybody who touches a Drade ring should be sentenced of death. And that's how the Wood Elves certainly see it. Now, these are Wild Riders, and at the time, Jacob was telling me that he built this army. You couldn't get them, so he's used the Fenrisian Wolves from the Space Wolves kits. And they do look... I almost said they look the Mud Snuts then, which would be a dad-level pun on the next level. Okay, and there's a photo from the other angle after the charge is done, and you can see the guy there. And then that's the state of play after the turn. Now, these have used their reserve move. The way Jacob moved his forces, his reserve troops came round. I say reserve troops, his scouts moved round Shaka Zulu style, you know, the horns of the buffalo, to start shooting into the cannons. Wild Riders did their job, killing the Lancer. It was really the only thing they could shoot at because the general was in combat. My general won against his general, and you can see has overrun. And then, can't remember whether he overrun into these. I think he declared a charge at the beginning of my turn, and he counter-charged with his frenzied unit. If he hadn't have counter-charged, I would have been in his flank if he'd have stayed still. But he did counter-charge, and you can see that's all set up, ready to go. And my other Shigengan Lord charged these unit again, and because these are frenzied at the moment, they can't flee. They have to stay. I don't know whether they counter-charged or not, but my guy made the charge in. So both Ponytail and Genghis Khan are in combat. The Lancer has gone. Both Lancers have gone. So no rings of jet on the team. There's a close-up of the combat. If I zoom in, you can see excellent painted models. Mine look crap when you zoom in on them. Mine are definitely painted to look across the table, but these Wood Elves stand up to a zoom in. Okay, it might not be evident, but it will become evident that my base is in line with this Wood Elf as well. So should it all go pear-shaped here, I will overrun into the Wizard, which was luck, not planning. The reason I put the Shigengan Lord there was to avoid the wood, because I didn't want a disordered charge, which I would have had if I'd have been in the wood. And on this side, you can see Ponytail has made it into the unit of Wild Riders, ready for their fight off. Okay, so then after the combat, you can see, let's do this side first. The general has indeed gone off. Now, from memory, Jacob had the perfect setup here. He'd got Drain Magic off on the Wizard, and the Wizard was dispelling on a double 3. Was dispelling using 3 dice, not 2. And my guy went to get off Petrol Doppelganger and rolled a double 6, which can't be stopped. You know, a unit of lightly armoured cavalry ain't going to stand up to, you know, I think from memory it worked out at 11 hits by the Monkey's Wisdom, which is strength 10 minus 4, D3 wounds each. I mean, it's like being hit by 11 cannonballs simultaneously. And because it evaporated, and I saw the opportunity, I didn't roll to restrain, I charged into the Wizard, the level 1 Wizard. Okay. At this point as well, Jacob had towed the wood so that his frenzied Wild Riders could then see my army, and if they needed to, they could charge. After I've pursued, I killed them and then caught them. I think they fled, but I caught them and then wasn't able to restrain. I can't remember which way around it was, but after I caught them, I did the restrain. Restrain and reform it should be. What I've done, and it's not obvious for these models. Hopefully, yeah, it's obvious. This Shigengan Lord is facing this way. The Jade Sentinel has done a turn so it can face this way, so start to put pressure on these scouts here. I was lucky with the cannons in that, from memory, he had quite a few hits. At the same time, he didn't do much damage because of the toughness, and he did say he struggles to wound toughness 6. Okay. A tip, what I did, because both my wizards had illusion, I printed off the illusion spells, I printed off the Oaken Shield spell, and I'd also put in there the Disquieted Spirit or Unquieted Spirits, as well as the reserve spells or the signature spells for Yang. So any possible spells that I would need were on this one piece of A4 paper. I printed 3 off, I think it was, might have been more, and essentially I marked with a red for Red Cloak and P for Ponytail as to which spells I rolled. And doing that at the beginning of the game is very transparent and everybody can see. So a tip for you if you're like me and not the most organised, keeping track of your spells. So I'm it's looking at this point, turn 3, it's going all right for the Warriors of Cathay. They moving forward in the way I did has paid off. However, I was so lucky here, and Jacob was so unlucky in that, you know, it's this one person who's carrying probably the strongest weapon in the game has hit a golden lineup where it's the general charge into the next unit and then overrun into the wizard. I mean, that it's the kind of thing you dream of, but it wasn't planning on my part. It was by accident. I was charged by the general, and everything else from them was react. So led down that path rather than planning. Okay. Another photo from a wider angle, and then I've done a close-up of the wizard. You can see it didn't all go my own way. There was 4 wounds put on by the various fighters as we've gone through, but the general's still on 3 wounds, and he's luckily rolling anything. But impact hits, the beasts can fight at strength 5. You know, it's a tasty little dragon flying around. So at the beginning of Jacob's next turn, he did similar movement as before. I think he did some shooting. These guys were out of range, so he moved them back a bit from memory. It was a bit of a nothing turn, uneventful turn from Jacob. And to be fair to him, he's on the back foot. You know, he's losing a lot of stuff. He's got 1 hero here, another Glade Lord riding the Stag Beetle, which you can just about see. His horns sticking out, but essentially it's tough for him. It is tough. I declare charges into the unit here. So this Ponytail on the right hand side is charging the I want to call them wolves, but they're not wolves. They're wild riders. And these wild riders did a counter charge and managed to get far enough. So, and I'm pretty sure they had 3 attacks each. They were quite a handful, but by doing the counter charge, it also helped me make my charge, which Ponytail did. Again, from memory, this guy may have had a reactive move, or something happened that he moved. When I declared a charge, he then moved as a reaction. I don't think he fled, but he did some reaction, and he moved out of my charge range, so my general couldn't move. Okay, so Ponytail makes it in, and the result of that is there's 2 wild riders left. Now, I actually think he won combat because of the musician from memory, because he maintained his frenzy into the next round of combat, which he wouldn't have done if he'd lost. So I don't think he lost. You can see my general this time has thought, okay, well, you were out of charge range last time because you moved back 6 inches or whatever. I'm making sure I'm going to get the charge next time. So has moved up to give me a good chance. Okay, and then you can see the other movements, the Wild Riders, Glade Riders, sorry, moving on to the hill. And so these 2 units here are starting to shoot and whittle down the Jade Warriors in the middle, and the Giant is moving forward to put pressure on the Scouts in the bottom right-hand corner, which aren't on screen at the moment. Again, fighty. Jacob charged me with the Lord, and he may as well, if you can't get away, get the extra initiative. More initiative means he strikes first, because that blade is striking last. Even though it hits like a train, it does take a while to get there. And then Ponytail finishes off the Wild Riders and the General. Did he take a wound? Yeah, he's down to 2 wounds now, but he has finished off the last remaining character. So yeah, you can see here that this Ponytail has also taken 2 wounds. So essentially I've got 1 eye on domination now, and I'm thinking my General's going to sit in this corner and just chill. 2 wounds left. I don't want the General dying because of the extra points. Into turn 5, the Jacob's movement, again shooting. You can see he's put a few wounds into the Jade Warriors. The Jade Warriors, you know, are wounded on 4s, but he is shooting at long range, and they are a 4-up armor save. So yeah, that was it for turn 5. Let's see the next photo. You can see that the giant, essentially in Jacob's turn, he moved these riders on the left. He moved those round, and the Jolly Green Giant, I think I'd rolled +1 movement again at this turn, so charged, and he couldn't get out the arc of sight of the giant because that is a huge arc of sight on the Green Jade. There was no one for this Jade Sentinel to move or charge down, so he started moving sideways so that he would go into the upper left quadrant. My heroes are going to stay in the upper right. This Jade guy is unlikely to be killed, so I've got him and the cannon in this quadrant, the bottom right. And I've got the cannon at the moment. There's 12 Jade Warriors, and there's all of these in the others. So it's mainly, at this point, we're more worried about shuffling for domination, which is fast approaching, rather than killing each other. Now you can see that the giant catches the warriors. I can't remember if they caught him or whether he fled. I think they caught him and killed him to a stiff breeze. And from memory, 1 unit of skirmishers triggered panic in another unit of skirmishers. These stayed on the table. I don't know where the knights have gone. This may have been taken at the end of the game. I mean, we can see it's turn 6 there. So Jacob may have taken the guys off here. From memory, he contested this quadrant and this quadrant to reduce my point, and I dominated these quadrants. So, yeah, and these are just a few photos I took at the end. And there you can see the score at the end. He suffered some incredibly bad luck at some crucial times. And I mean, me rolling a 6 when essentially it was the only thing that would have caused that spell to go off and kill that unit. And I mean, it happens. On a different day, it could have been a very different score. Hats off to him for playing Wood Elves. I mean, they're nowhere near the top. They're probably nearer the bottom. If I think back to the first term, I, at this point, was thinking was playing the long range game with my cannons. But like I say, it became very apparent that these archers and these archers would fast whittle away my lance, and then he would win the domination game. So that forced me to go forward. And by committing to going forward, instead of, because I think by nature I'm a more defensive player. I'll move up to a position and try and hold it. Whereas the way Jade plays, I call them Jade because of Jade Fleet, but essentially it's Cathay, isn't it? By the way Cathay plays, especially if you've got flyers, they are a very aggressive army. I didn't have balloons, because the reason I didn't have balloons is last tournament I played a guy in the first round. I had a balloon, and I may as well have taken a vacuum cleaner and just vacuumed his models off the table. It wasn't a game. He was a lovely guy. I can't remember his name. I've got it written down somewhere. And I thought, nah, this in on. So I was determined this day, a couple of months later in the next tournament, I would be playing without the balloons to see what Cathay can do. And they're still quite tasty. They can still handle it. Definitely the 2 Shigengan Lords carried it. The Giants didn't do a lot. They are quite an intimidation. And the Wood Elves struggle, as he said at the beginning of the game, into toughness 6 rather. It wasn't down to me. If we'd have swapped armies, the result would have been the same, in that Jacob would have annihilated me. But, you know, I'd have been tabled if I'd have been playing his army. So that was round 1. So for the second round, the deployment is the diagonal one. I can't remember the name of it, and I haven't put it in the pack, But essentially, it's the triangle, the right angle triangle, measuring roughly from the half of the board to the corner. So there's 3 strategic locations, one in the middle, one halfway between the middle and the board edge, and one on the other side halfway between the middle and the board edge. We also had baggage train. Baggage train, if you control yours, it's 100, and if you destroy your opponent's, it's 250, I think, at the end of the game. So round 2, you can see, and one of the nicest painted armies I've ever played against. I took a table. You can see we've got the tapes there marking out the deployment zones. You can see how the terrain was decided upon. We've both got cannons this time, but for some reason we didn't vote on the hills. Oh, that's right. I've got cannons. He's got mortars. He does have a weakened cannon on the steam tank, which I'll describe in a minute. But this is the terrain we landed on, or chose between us. I can't remember who voted, and we've got the 3 objective markers in the middle. Hopefully you can see those. It's the 40k skulls, and this is my baggage train, which I was quite pleased with until I saw his baggage train. I thought I'd taken a photo, but I haven't. His baggage train is amazing, and it's even got washing on it. Absolutely amazing. This is the second round. I'm playing against Aidan Holman from the same club, Jacob. D-side defenders, I think they are. And I think this guy won best painted on the day because his army is absolutely delightful. And I will skip back and show you some photos in a minute. But I'll talk you through his deployment and movement in his first turn. So in here, there's a unit of 32 spearmen, light armour and shield. They're veterans. They have the Griffin banner to double their combat double their combat bonus for ranks. There's also a captain in there. Captain's got the full plate armour and the Witch Hunter's Ward and also a charm shield. So essentially they are magic resistance 2. With those are 2 detachments of archers, either side of them. Basic archers on foot. You've got the steam tank, I should say. Either the engine, of course, with a cannon on it and a steam gun. The cannon is very similar to a normal cannon, it's just a slightly weaker version. And you've got 2 mortars, 2 Empire mortars there. No engineer. Then we've got 10 lancers in the middle. They're veteran, heavy armour, shield, barding, so 3 up saves. Level 3 wizard in there of demonology, carrying the wizard staff. I think the wizard staff gives a +1 bonus to cast in certain types of spells, like magic shots, might be assailment spells as well. I'm not 100% sure on assailment spells, but I know it is +1 for certain types of magic. Not all, but certain types. And then we've got a captain on a demigryph, who's quite tasty. He's carrying the Witch Hunter's Ward, and that will give for that unit magic resistance. So both these big units have magic resistance. The general, he's on a Pegasus. He's got the twice blessed armor, 5 up ward in the form of a cloak, and he's also got a dragon bow. He's got a lance besides a magical dragon bow and Witch Hunter's Ward as well. So magic resistance 2. And then on the far left, we've got a unit of wardens. Pistoliers who aren't impetuous, basically, and they wear heavy armour. They also have a vanguard move, but I don't think they've done their move yet. They may have, they may not have. And then behind the building is the baggage train, and it was the finest baggage train known to man or woman, this baggage train. Unfortunately, this photo doesn't do it justice. It's a proper diorama that is created. Aidan, I'm guessing, really enjoys the hobby as well as playing the games. Because his army is amazing. I think, like I may have mentioned already, he won the best painted on the day. Mine looks quite pathetic compared to his. It is hiding behind the building though, in a similar fashion. So yeah, and from memory, he moves up in turn 1, takes a few pot shots, archers on the hill, takes some pot shots, and not a lot happens. So I roll. So then we go into my turn 1. I roll, and you can tell I've swapped from Coca-Cola to Iron Brew this time. I've rolled on the wings of magic, and I've rolled +1 movement. So my flyers now, instead of fly 9, I'll fly 10. which extends their range. And I'm fresh off the back of a win where these two carried the entire game. So I'm thinking, I'm going to be aggressive again. I don't care. Let's see what happens. What could possibly go wrong? Charge-wise, these two, both Shigengan Lords, charge the unit now. I can't remember the exact distance, but I think the Red Cloak needed an 18. But it was within a it couldn't have been 18 because it was within a declarable charge, which at fly 10 rather, would be 19, wouldn't it? So it could have been 18, but it was within. I charged them both, and both of them made it into the combat. And the reason I charged them both in is because I thought if I charge one in, they're just going to get challenged out. And the amount of times these have lost combat because they've been combat rezzed, they flee disappointingly not far, and then they get ridden down. And then, there's a good chance they get ridden down by this lot. So I'm thinking there can only be one challenge. So they'll both go in. Hopefully they'll both get enough off and cause some problems. Now, from memory, it was Red Cloak who hit the number 5 spell in the first game. And I think it's Ponytail who hit the number 5 spell. Doppelganger in this turn. One of my characters, and I don't think it was the general again. So this one has the Doppelganger spell with a weapon that does killing blow for pretty much everything in this army on a 5 or a 6. So the odds, unless this character goes down quick, the odds are stacked against him. The odds are stacked against him. Okay, so I decided to go aggressive because I've got 3 core units, and I'm thinking this infantry block will control this point. This core unit will see off the Pistoliers. This one will shoot at whatever it can. Now, if these make the charge, I intend for them to go into the steam tank, and the Giants will just move forward and see what opportunities present themselves. You'll also notice, because there's no hills in my deployment, the mortars cannon did shoot, but they either scattered or I saved it. There was no wounds from memory, but my cannons can't see to shoot. So until my stuff starts moving out the way, I've got nothing to shoot at. These, despite looking like they are not large targets. Obviously the Sentinels are, and the steam tank is a large target. So what a large target means is it can be seen over other units. They don't get the benefits of cover, do they? So yeah, that's a shot that I took of the Battenberg and the guys on the hill, and then both of them made the charge. And because Sweden declared a counter charge, he got to drill his army. Drill his unit, rather. So what he's done is he's gone 1 rank as wide as it needs be. He stayed out the wood. I thought you had to do it about the middle for redressing the ranks, but apparently you don't. So he did that. That's fine. I'm not complaining. And you can see after the challenges, it didn't go well. I think he issued a challenge, which he had to do with was it his general? I think his general did. And, I got lots on the overkill. Now, the reason there's people missing here is because both of the Spirit Longmas cause impact hits. So essentially, you had 2d3 plus 2 impact hits first, which I think killed a couple. Then this one killed the captain with overkill. This beast then went into the unit, and the general went into the unit, didn't do a lot, and the beastie went into the wizard, and the wizard was took down to 1 wound. Okay, so the pressure was on. The pressure was on, and we can see Aiden measuring here how far it is to the steam tank. My cannons shot at the steam tank. It was the only thing they could see to shoot at, and I don't think they did anything of consequence. There is a wound marker there, I think behind it, but I think it was like 2 or 3 wounds. He's measuring here to see what he needs to get the steam tank charged into Ponytail. Okay, so that's at the end of my turn, beginning of, you can see he made it. He considered sending his general in as well, but because the giant is here, the sentinel, he decided to shuffle his general sideways and see what the outcome of this was. So this one has charged in to Ponytail, and I don't think I issued a challenge this time. I think he did. I think he issued a challenge with his captain, the one on the back of the demigryph, and from memory, the general took it. And you can see as a result of 3 wounds, the general put, well, 3 wounds left, so they've put 7 wounds. Now that wounds, if I go back a slide, sorry, I'm jumping about. Yeah, so it didn't all go my way this bit, because this guy was in a challenge. The rest of the unit basically wailed on the general and put 4 wounds. There we go. And then steam tank went in. There was a lot of fighting, and the general finished off the captain, and this guy essentially finished off the rest of the unit and just left the unbreakable steam tank against Ponytail. And because the general was no longer in combat, the general overrun, which is always a good thing, because now it's my turn and my general has all of these things to choose from. These are fleeing. They didn't kill them all. There was a few left, but they failed their leadership test and they fled. And you can see all of these passed. I think the general has an ability where he doesn't care. I'm sure he cares. I'm sure he's a heartfelt, loving general, but he didn't panic in any way. He either passed or he doesn't need to test. So at the start of my turn, end of Aiden's turn, this is what it's looking like, which the gamble looks like it's paid off. My general's still alive. I've broken the back of the big unit of knights. I mean, I probably look at the list. 120, 160, that's 300. And the knights are... So there's roughly 600 points. So there was roughly 600 points matching up at 600 to 650 in the middle, matching up, and my guys have prevailed. They've both taken wounds. It looks like that one's down to 6, so it's taken a wound from the steam tank, and that one's down to 2 now, I think. Yeah, that looks like a 2. So they have been given a bloody nose, but the gamble paid off. The gamble paid off. So, okay, there we go, different angle. And then we've got my movement. So my guy, my general here, considered charging into these lancers. Yeah, not the wing lancers, or the knights, the Empire Knights, to force them off the table. But we established that it was an unmakeable charge. So instead of declaring that charge, because they needed to try and rally in his turn, which is a while off yet, that my general was going to charge the mortar, because the mortar is the thing that's threatening my core troops. And this Jade Sentinel is going to declare a charge into... I can't remember which way round I did it. I may have declared a charge into the archers. The archers fled. Then I redirected into the Battenberg unit. And I think that's the way it went, because the Jade Sentinel has a leadership of 10. It's relatively easy to redirect. It was, relatively easy to redirect. So, and these Jade Lancers on the left, they reformed so they could see the last remaining pistolier, and I think the rest just shuffled about a bit. So there we go. So yeah, you can see they've are out the back. The Jade Sentinels made it in. The Generals made it into the Sentinels. These are lined up ready to shoot, and these are just standing there, trying not to die. In my head, I thought I'll stand them there so they're near the point. But of course, you need to have 5 cavalry there to score it. If you've got less than 10, you can't score it. So the only ones who can score at the moment are these Jade Warriors, and they are stuck like glue on this point here, not dying. That's their role. And because of the positioning here, there was a line of sight from memory where this cannon could target the general, and this cannon could also target the general. Okay. At this point, both my ogre loaders are facing forward, which means I haven't used their reroll or shoot twice ability yet. Close-up shots. I think when I took this, I said that's the thumbnail. You can see though that the spears have put 3 wounds on the giant, because if you roll a 6, he's only saving on a 5 up. I think at this stage he hadn't got his ward off, so he was definitely woundable, if not killable. But it's always going to be tough fighting a giant. Toughness 6 with strength 3 weapon. I think because I've got the camera to take that one, I also took some other shots, and you can see after combat the last pistolier or last outrider has gone on the side, and the mortar has gone. He's reformed. He's overrun after killing the steam tank or finishing off the steam tank, and the giant has popped his ability where he doesn't have to give ground. So the giant has an ability, I may have explained this before, where instead of, if he's required to give round because he lost because of being out combat rest, he can choose not to. And that's what he's done. He's just stood there, which means he can't be shot by anybody because he's in there. And it keeps these tied up. So at the beginning of Aiden's turn, I think he rallies these. I think the general was taken out by cannonballs, and these archers are looking for a target. As I think these rally as well. So again, because the gamble paid off in the middle and Aiden's heavy hitters have gone, essentially my army's just moving up into the corner. Poor Aiden, he's definitely on the back foot. If this was a club night, we'd have probably called it there, but we carried on playing. I mean, we're having a chuckle and we're cracking funnies, but I did feel for Aiden at this point, because if you've got nothing to fight back with, what do you do? So at this point, next photo, there we go. What you'll see, the difference between the two is that these two guys, this ponytail charges the ambushers, and my general then goes and touches in the remaining moves, marches essentially into contact with the baggage train. There you can see the movement. The other giants moved up, as is the Jade Warriors, but essentially it's turn 4 in the game's. It's finished. Like I say, if this was a club night, we'd call it early and we'd either re-rack and play again, or put the world to rights and what should be nerfed about the Jade Army. And bear in mind, please, I don't have balloons. The only thing I've got, I say the only thing, 2 rings of jet, 2 weapons, and the weapons would be fair if everybody had access to them, but they don't. There's another photo moving up, and there you can see in turn 5 there's next to nothing left. I think everything's fled. So it was another 6-0, not because of brilliance on my part, just because I was fairly confident off the last game, because it paid off when both my Shigengan Lords charged in. So I thought I'd do it again, and it worked. They made a long-ass charge, both of them, which meant that the challenge mechanic was a lot less effectual than it normally would be, and I could put a lot more wounds on. And my cannons had weakened. I'd put a couple of wounds on the steam tank so that the steam tank was easier to kill as well. And I think the steam tank is only a 3-up save now, not a 2-up save. So even if I'm not, it's immune to killing blow, because chariots fall in the loophole. They can't be hit with killing blow. They can't be hit with monster slayer. So they fall in that nice loophole. But essentially, if you turn off the killing blow for it, it's still a great weapon that isn't striking last. And if you've got the spell off, that can be 10 hits, not 10 wounds, but you're not rolling to hit, you auto hit on that spell, you're rolling to see how many. And at that point, the wizard had gone. So it's a fated dispel against a level 3 wizard. It wasn't a fair fight at that point. Aiden, perfect gentleman. Like I say, deservedly won the best painted for the day. His army was amazing, absolutely amazing. A true hobbyist and a true gentleman. Enjoyed the game. And round 3, the deployment zone looks like this. Essentially, 12 inches from the middle and 12 inches from one of the table edges. So it's a bit offset. And the way we scored this in the final round, the scenario special rules, there weren't any, again 6 turns. Strategic locations 4 also had the special feature in the middle, which I think is worth 200 at the end of the game, and that is smack bang in the middle of the table. Okay, you can see we've put the rules there for displaying the special feature. Okay, so we're going into round 3 now, and I warn you now, I mean, if you're here, I am doffing my cap to you if you are still here, because that is true dedication. Either that or somebody's tied you to the chair and you're being tortured. They are trying to bore you into submission with my ramblings about my game. Now, what we're in, 2 6-0 wins, which I know no one's more surprised than me. Oh, let's resize the photos. There we go. With 2 6-0 wins, I end up on top table. I know. I don't. And anybody who knows me will be as surprised as I sound at the moment. I've given up the Iron Brew and I'm back on the Coca-Cola now. Full fat, because it's high pressure. And you can tell it's high pressure because I'm enjoying the game that much. I haven't taken any photos until turn 2. You can see. So I'm playing in the final. A guy called Alex Sodek, who was, again, a perfect gentleman. I was surprised by how kind, jovial, amenable, nice people to be around playing. They come down, I think they come in a few cars from the same club, and they were a delight, absolute delight to play. However, Alex, when I was playing Alex, I did think this guy is on a different level to me. I felt like I was playing, what's the old line? I was playing checkers and he was playing chess, He knew what I was going to do before I did, unless I did something that didn't make sense at all. And he's just playing on a different level. He's really good at the game, really good at the game. Again, perfect gentleman. Like I've said, really nice guy to play. It was, as you can see from this photo, Cathay versus Cathay. He did bring Mao Ying, which I will paint up. I've got the model. I've undercoated, but I haven't got it ready to go yet, and I can't until it's painted. So Mao Ying is there. There's a Lord Magistrate piloting the balloon. Mao Ying comes as is, level 4 wizard, in human form level 2, in dragon form, where the Lord Magistrate, dragon firebombs, sky lantern, standard, of meteoric iron, did have a ring of jet, and the talisman of protection. So essentially it's a 5-up, 5-up save, and the ring of jet as well. I can't complain because of my lancers. And in turn 2, you can see here, there is a hole where my lancers were already, because they've died in turn 1. To a combination of things, I think it was the ring of jet, the bombs, the moving bombs, and the actual bombs, the Dragonfire bombs. And I have no complaints because I have played that same balloon in the past. I felt it was, this is what it's like when somebody just takes one of your units off the table. And yeah, but no problem with it. No problem at all. I'm playing Cathay. I am not complaining at all about someone playing Cathay. Please don't think I am. He's got a unit of 7 Jade Lancers there. I don't know if they had any kind of command in there. I think he'd got an officer, standard bearer. Yeah, it looks like he's got full command in there. He's got a unit of 24 Jade Warriors. Now, his Lancers and his Jade Warriors, because Mao Ying is in the army, get bonuses. So they are better weapon skill than my equivalents. They're better leadership, and they have a 6-up ward. Okay. Don't get me wrong, he has paid an extra point for each model with those. I know some of you are going, what? You get all that for a point each? Yes. But I am not complaining because this is Jade versus Jade. Cathay versus Cathay. I have equal options to those. So I'm not complaining. So Mao Ying, the what's it called? Celestial Dragon Guard upgrade. They both have. There's a unit, you can't see them there, of 5 Lancers. Not Lancers. Halberdiers behind Mao Ying. There's 2 cannons, the same as mine. He has taken the hand grenades, though, the bombs, that they are, oh, I can't remember the name of the bombs, but they both got those. He's paid for those, whereas I saved the 8 points on each one. And I think that's it. I think that's his army. It's quite an elite army, as Cathay is. I'm pretty sure from memory he said that those 5 were in purely to make the army legal, you know, by the rules, because you need 3 units and war machines don't count. So, yeah, there's his 3 units that he's got. And the balloon started off behind the building and has worked its way around to here. My first turn, because I can't remember if I went first or second. It might become apparent as we go through. Essentially, I've got this ponytail with the one with the killing blow faced off this area, and my general faced off this area, or screened off, I should say, rather than faced off, because I wasn't sure where the balloon was going to come in, because he did scout the balloon, which gave me +1 to deployment. So it might have been that I went first. And in my first shooting round, I put 4 cannonballs into Miao Ying. All 4 hit, all 4 wounded, and 3 of them were saved on odd saves. I think I put 2, maybe 3 wounds on Miao Ying. Can't see, yeah, can't see on there. But yeah, she is carrying some wounds. And I can't remember if this is my turn or his turn. Yeah, this is just before his turn, I think, because I don't think my sentinels move again yet. So it's essentially, initially he declares a charge into the sentinel. And I did remind him at this point that the sentinels have a monster slayer as an attack, so it might not be too advisable to do. I mean, I wasn't trying to talk him out of it, and I, explained this to him. Although he does have Cathay and owns a giant, he if you don't play him, you don't know the rules, do you? But I think it's the only thing he didn't know about the whole game on that day, or he'd forgotten, one or the other. So he then decided not to charge the giant, and he went into the Jade Lancers with Miao Ying. The Jade Lancers, they either held or they countercharged. I can't remember which one I did, because I think I would have held, because I thought if I flee, he'd got the Spirit Drakmar here, which had also declared a charge, which could have chased him down. I think I might be wrong in that. No, I countercharged, and you can see I countercharged, which made sense at the time. I wonder, thinking back, when Alex was thinking, if I charge them, they will flee, and then I can charge the giant, and I haven't got to worry about those because they will be rallying next turn if they rally. Me being the tactical genius I am, thought, I'll countercharge. That's a brilliant idea. Let's send those strength 3 lancers into a dragon. So yeah, I countercharged Miao Ying. I think that was the only charge. Yeah, and you can see the outcome. Miao Ying made it in. They passed the terror check, countercharged, and there they are, ready for a fight. And I'm looking good for a charge into the flank if they're still here. And this Shigengan general, I don't think it was a Shigengan lord, has moved up from behind the special feature in the middle to here, where it can't be charged by anything. It's out of arc of sight. The reason my general's not there anymore is because essentially the cannons have taken him off. They took care. I think he had a couple of wounds from being shot the first turn. He's down to 3 wounds, and I think he shot him again. Don't know whether he shot with both, but he certainly finished him off. So no general. I am general-less at this point. These have backed up. He's not too worried about holding that point, and I think he's not worried about holding that point because he's holding this point here, which is balancing the points here, and he knows he's killed my general, or would have killed my general. So he's definitely got the upper hand here, and his balloon has moved across and has started wailing on the, I think from memory, I might be getting the turn numbers mixed up, but his bombing run may have just been the one that puts a wound on this Shigengan general, the ponytail. And the actual bombing run shots were at long range, and because of the toughness of the cannon, didn't do any damage. Okay. I probably won't be doing this battle justice, folks, because I didn't take enough photos. I was too wrapped up in the game. Okay. So that Same photo, I think. And then miraculously, Mao Ying flops her attacks. My guys still lose, but they give ground. So I move back 2 inches. He moves, or they fell back in good order, one or the other, which moved Mao Ying out of the counter charge. I was lucky because they should be dead. They should be dead. That Lord only has an ability to charge these lancers in the top right, but they're too far away. So essentially, I don't have a charge target. So my Shigengan Lord, my remaining Shigengan Lord, turns so that wherever this balloon moves, I can get it. Okay. The brown Sentinel charges through the wood and fails a charge. I think I failed it by 1 inch. I forgot all about the fact that they've got the ability for once per game to re-roll. But I don't think I would have made it anyway because I think I needed a 6. But it didn't make it, so made the failed charge move, and the green Sentinel marches up to ensure that there will be a charge next turn. And then my cannons can't shoot Mao Ying, so I think I start wailing on the balloon, the cannon shots. I do wound the balloon, but don't finish it. Mao Ying kills another Lancer. I know, 2 rounds of combat, 2 Lancers dead. No one is more surprised than me. I did drop lucky. There's a shot of the cannons doing their old 10 inches from the back, do shots into the balloon to slow it down as well as injure it. I don't know if we can see a number on here now. There's not a number, but there's not much left. I'm still on 5 wounds yet. So that's the end of my turn. Yeah, end of my turn. A wide shot. He's moving the balloon again in his turn now. And you can see he's moved it closer. And this might be where he does the 1 wound. I think everything from the balloon goes into the Shigengan Lord and takes 3 wounds. He was very lucky, but she's got 2 wounds left, which is making me think now, ooh, is it worth charging? Because if I charge that balloon, it's going to have a fire and flee reaction, isn't it? You can see now there's no threat to the Lancers. The Lancers have moved back up to capture that point and earn their 30 points a turn. The Halberdiers have moved up in front of the Sentinel, and I think they've done that because there's no way they can avoid the charge, so they're doing it to minimise the initiative of the Giant, and the Giant will be ready to charge again through the forest. The mixing up the end of one turn and beginning of the next. The Jade, the General, the Shigengan General, here, Alex's Shigengan General, has turned, so he's got a charge in the back of my Shigengan Lord, or the cannons, or the side of the thing. He's got lots of options, and somehow the Lancers are still alive. Still alive. Okay, and then at the end of my turn, there's just the musician left. How the musician's left, I have no idea. I mean, I did challenge out Mao Ying in one of them to minimise losses, but I didn't expect him to last 4 rounds of combat. And you can see the reason I'm showing you these dice here. Mao Ying has a -2 to her attack. She did 4 wounds. I needed 4 5s, and you can see I rolled 3 5s, which exactly killed the musician. Otherwise, that musician would have got a name tag for legendary status of standing up to Mao Ying, a 500-point dragon, by banging the drums to confuse. So you can see here Mao Ying, having finished off the heroic stand of the musician, has turned to face the rest of the army to bring the pain on. The Giant has finally made it into combat, and my green Giant has finished off the Halberdiers and overrun into the cannon on the right. My Shigengan Lord has charged and successfully made the charge into the balloon and got 1 wound left. Did 1 wound, so it's down to a final wound. I didn't say at the beginning, both the generals got glittering robe, both the Shigengans got glittering robe, but of course cannons don't care about minuses to hit. And both of them got off the spell name, Doppelganger. So I'm in a confident position that I should kill the balloon. We still can't see how many wounds, but I'm thinking it was 3 or 4. It's definitely taken a beating from the cannons, and it's suffering from quake when it comes to movement. Again, in this game, it would have been really useful if I'd remembered my let's turn off flight banner, but no, that would require a brain. So yeah, that's the fighting in my turn. Took a couple of photos just to make sure it worked. And then after the fighting, you can see that the balloon has indeed gone. It is no more. And she has restrained and reformed to face the Lancers, because that's where she intends to go next. My Sentinel, the Brain Sentinel on the right, has lost combat, even though doing a lot of wounds, and refused to give ground. You know, that ability where if you are required to give ground once per game, you can just not do it. So it stayed in combat. And I've done that because I didn't want to give ground and then have him charge me again. You know, I've got a choice now of always striking last or going at initiative 3. And if I'm going at initiative 3, that will be the same speed as some of his guys. I can't remember what the Winds of Magic was at this stage. But like I say, I was very wrapped up in the game, more so than worried about taking photos. Okay, so the Shigengan General in Alex's turn charges into the cannon, and the Ogre guy does his business, choose a challenge because that's the way he rolls. And Mao Ying, I think, had been quaked in this turn. Definitely saved another 5 up from Cannonball. And I think the other one may not have hit her and gone into the ground, you know, in my turn. So she is at -1 to move. She's also moving through the wood, which is another, I suppose she could fly, but she's still slower. And because it was a long-ass charge, I think he decided to set himself up for the next one. He may have charged and failed. I can't remember. And it's not really relevant. They didn't get into combat for one reason or another. And my Lancers are ready for the onslaught. Hoping they stand up as well as the Jade Lancers did. Warriors, sorry, in the middle, stand ready for the onslaught. Okay, so the one cannon that can shoot decided, did they shoot though? I'm trying to remember how I took 4 wounds. There's a good chance I took 4 wounds off the breath weapon from the dragon. And if I did, it's because they hadn't charged, they'd moved. So that might have been the plan all along. I'm pretty sure that this cannon here shot my Shigengan Lord, who had 1 wound left. I saved it on a ward from memory. Or no, it hit and he rolled a 1 to wound, which, you know, was the stuff of legend and is why we play a dice game. And we've all been there when you need to finish someone off and you roll a 1 after doing all the hard work. So yeah, but it did put a quake on the area, which reduced my speed and made me turn off Swift Stride. And my Sentinel won the combat against the cannon. Couldn't challenge out there because you can't challenge a Sentinel, they're not a character. After he'd won, he restrained and reformed, which is relatively easy to do on a 10, and faced into the side of the Jade Warriors. At this point, you've still got the priest and the captain in there. So, and I'm down to 2 wounds on this fellow. The reason I'm down to 2 wounds is the priest got the leadership spell off, the Priest of Ulrich, which gives all the weapons damage 2. So although I've got a 5-up armor and a 5-up ward, anything that goes through is doing 2 wounds. So it can faster eat up a 6-wound character. The Jade guy didn't get away scot-free. I'm pretty sure he's taken a wound there. I can't see. But the fact that that's there tells me he's got some wounds, but I can't see the number. And, you know, my Shigengan Lord is down to 1 remaining wound at the moment. So 320-ish points in the balance on that one. So into the next turn. So in my turn, because of the restrictions, I can't use Swift Stride and I'm at -1 movement, I fail the charge. So I move forward while I roll on the dice, which is what you see there. The cannons are putting a heroic fight up, as in 1 remaining wound, fell back in good order. So it's going to take another turn for this general to eat the cannons. The Jade, it was an auto charge into the side. And this is where I decide to change the tactics. So this fella here is going to target, because I've got a choice of always strikes last or targeting characters. So this fella here decides to target his 3 attacks that have got killing blow into that captain that's on that corner. Okay, and this one that's going last, because I'm going behind these guys, is doing the sweeping attack into the unit and just hoping doesn't roll enough to kill me. Okay, turns out he did roll enough to kill me, and the good side, timber went my way, so I managed to put D6 wounds. I think it worked out to 3 or 4, but the captain has gone. I have killed the captain. Alex wins combat here, and because he's won combat, I should give ground, but this guy hasn't used his once per game ability of not giving ground, so he decides to stay in combat, not give ground, and carry on the fight. He's down to 4 wounds, so he may have. I can't remember if the wounds happened now or when I was fighting the ogre and previous. Okay, I mean, it's irrelevant. It's happened. This guy looks like he's here, but he's in Boot Hill. Essentially, he's died. It's coming to the end of the day. This is turn 5, and the battle's starting to swing Alex's way. My guys that are worth points are dying fast now, and those that aren't are looking vulnerable. Okay, by not giving ground as well, it also means that Alex can't reform. So he's not facing me. I'm still fighting in the flank, and that is balancing out. He will probably still win combat, though, because he's not only he's got the Jade banner, which is +3 combat res. He only needs 4 guys in the back rank, and they are 6 wide to give him a +1 rank. So, you know, the giant doesn't win through combat, but he's unbreakable, so he's there for the duration. He's there for the duration. From memory, let's see what's in the next photo. Okay, so this is after movement. The Jade Lancers decide not to charge. Why would they? I think they move up to within 2 of this fellow so that the impact hits don't go off. So if and when I charge, because I've only moved 2 inches, I haven't moved the minimum of 3, so there's no impact hits. And it also means that this cannon here can shoot again at the Shigengan Lord. Young has gone into the unit. I'm hoping these stand up the way the Lancers did. I don't have the Jade banner, remember. I have the banner that turns off flight, which I haven't used all day. And the Sentinel here continues to wail. What Jacob does do, and it might be evident in the next photo, is he moves the Priest of Ulrich from this corner. It moves through rank to fight, because she's got a great weapon and all that. Okay, I don't think he would have done that if it hadn't been turn 5, because he would have gone for the less attacks but more damage. I think I might be wrong. Like I say, he's a much better player than me. I'm playing by accident and instinct, whereas he's actually using tactics. Yeah, taken as a shot, a close-up of his Mao Ying and the naughty Jade warriors who were fighting basically their deity. And you can see from this photo, several things happen. The Jade warriors do not stand up like the Jade Lancers did. I'm down to 2. Yes, they do, because they're stubborn. They do give ground, but, you know, it's all down to the guy holding the banner and the guy with the drum again. And again, the first round of combat, I think from memory, I tried the challenge, failed the challenge, and because I failed the challenge, Mao Young got to wail on the unit, which I think would be a good way of doing all challenges. If you're doing a character challenge and the character's on a dragon, and it's a champion I'm talking about, not another character, but if a champion is challenging a character, there should be some kind of leadership. It works well. It's very thematic, and I like it. The other cannon, though, is heroically holding on. Again, first one happens, second one goes into the cannon, and there's 1 wound remaining, and they do a for-by-go and fall back in good order. The cannonball hits again and rolls another 1 to wound. 2 ones on a row for someone on 1 wound. Yeah, painful, painful. The Jade warriors, though, here start to feel the pain. Now the characters have gone. I have taken out the wizard. I think I did a sweeping attack this time, but I rolled, I think it was 8 attacks in total, and I put 3 or 4 on the priest and the rest in the unit. And then, you've got the stomp at the end, the D3 plus 1 stomps. And that's the state of play at the end. They gave ground. I think I still lost because of the Jade Banner. And because I'd burnt my ability, I had to give ground. He decides not to follow me up. Why would he? He's going second. If they don't die and they're above, I can't remember if they're above, I think they're just below 25%. So I get they're below 75%. So I get 25% of those points. I might be wrong on that. I might be wrong. It might be that they're just above and I don't get a lot of points from this game because lots of my shit is dead. Not much of his shit is dead. So far, I've killed a cannon. Oh, it was a great game, though. I was, like I say, I was so enthralled in this game, I wasn't even taking the photos that I had for the others. Great day to a great end. Great end to a great day, I should say. And then I think this is, Alex finishes off the unit here, finishes off the cannon. The Jade Lancers decide to charge to try and finish. No, I charge, maybe. Someone charges. No one dies. And then that's my turn. Yeah, I make the 1-inch charge or the 2-inch charge. And then, there's a few more of these die. I think what happens here is that I go in, again, do enough wounds that they give ground, they are below 25% now. There's a couple of charges. It looks like my Shigengan Lord is here. My Shigengan Lord is dead. And that's because I killed some Lancers, but then the Shigengan General charges in the rear. It's... I can think of a few terms that probably wouldn't be appropriate for being charged in the rear and the front at the same time. Finish off the final wound. So all I have left at the end of the game is 1 Sentinel. 1 Sentinel. So I've got 250 points remaining on the table, and all I have finished off is a cannon. So any other points I'm getting, it's like, they're below 25%, so I get some points. They started off as a unit of 7, and there's 2 left, so I don't get any points for them. I don't get any points. But it's been a great day. Absolute brilliant day. That's the final photo of the day. The final positions is Alex does take first place. The guys on table 2, I think one gets a narrow victory, but not enough to overtake me. So although I lose this game, I had scored quite a few points with these, holding these points. I had scraped some points together. So if you're still here, folks, after watching that, thank you for making it through. Try not to speak too loud because you probably dozed off and I don't want to wake you up. I hope you've enjoyed it. It is my first one of doing this kind of battle report. I've probably talked too much. There's probably loads of ums and ahs. The photos don't make sense, but I will get better over time because the more you do, the better you get. If you've got any feedback, constructive feedback, please share. I'm not very precious things that I make, and if you can genuinely help me get it better, please do. Please do. But if you're telling me, it's shit and you don't want to watch it again, then don't. Okay. All the best. Catch you again soon.